Hello, everyone. When we watch political interviews, we often heard the candidates being asked about micro-politics, huge budgets, and brand city visions. Today, we want to do something different. We are going to focus on the things that everyday people actually feel in their daily lives, the issue around your dinner table, your neighborhood, and your livelihood. Join us today to talking about these real stories is Chandler, City Council candidate. Welcome, Lisa. Lisa, you have lived in Chandler for 35 years. If the 1991 vision of you are walking into the Chandler of today, you might barely recognize it. As a long-time resident who has witnessed this massive transformation, what do you personally missing most about the old Chandler? What is your message to neighborhood who feel that Chandler is changing too fast, becoming too expensive, and losing its small town warmth? How did you plan to preserve the community character they cherish?
I love this question because the first thing I think about is that I miss the old farms. I miss the greenery, the smell, the desert in the evening. I kind of miss that. We've lost a lot of land to build out, which is true. What I see when I see that is I see a city that's become very successful in its community, in its economy, in its school systems. We have developed so much. We've created so many opportunities for the residents of Chandler. It is expensive to live there. How would we continue to preserve that hometown feel? And that's what I love about Chandler. I feel like even though it has become a big city, it still has that small town feel. I love that about being able to know the people and to get to know them, that we all feel comfortable with each other. We are a diverse population, and I feel like we've all grown up together. The city has changed so much in the past 40 years that we've built our own community. I think that's beautiful. I want to be able to continue to preserve that for my children and your children and the next generation. I want them to be able to grow in the city that I have fallen in love with.
Wonderful. You have been the interpreter in Chandler since 2000, have run the multi-business. Honest, what has been the most frustration part of being a small business owner in the city? If this role will package with the local restaurant owners, salon owners, and the independent entrepreneurs today, what is the single most practical stress release things you would do for them once elected?
Thank you for the question. I love entrepreneurs. I think they are the backbone of our city. Having been down that road, I have had my own experiences of difficulty and how we function in the business. How do you grow your business? How do you develop it? I think one of the biggest issues that we have is, and I experienced it myself when I built a retail store, is the permitting process. We have a tendency to make that too long, too extended. It ends up costing new businesses too much money and too much time to launch. And the reality is these are the businesses that pay our sales tax. They help employ our police and our fire and build our roads with their tax monies that they collect. It's only in our best interest to get them up and running as quickly as possible to help them be successful. As a Chandler council member, I think the first thing I would work on, if I were sitting in front of all of those entrepreneurs, I would commit to them that I'd work on getting their businesses up, going faster, and providing them the support that they need to be successful.
You have previously pointed out that the City Council has lacked transparency in certain decision-making process. However, every day people are busy working and take care of their family. They don't have time to read the hundreds of the pages of sitting reports. If elected, how did you plan to translate a major city hall decision into plain language for your neighbors? How would you ensure that you won't turn into just another typical politician who sat in the office and lose touch with the grassroots?
Fun question. I would say multiple answers to that. That we've had some issues with transparency in our local government. I think that's so important that when we are asking the voters to vote on any ordinance or amendment change, that we are being very clear to them and very honest with them about what they're voting on. No deceptive practices on our vote and what we're asking from the voters. How would I communicate that out as a sitting council member? I would make sure that I'm using the technologies of communication, that we are open and transparent on our social media, that we're accessible, that we are I will be there for them to answer questions. I'm I'm not your typical candidate. I'm very straightforward. I think I'm unique in that way. I'm never going to be a typical politician because I'm a very open, blunt person. I probably have opinions that sometimes aren't very popular. I'm not afraid to have the hard questions. I'm not afraid to have the difficult conversations. I'm not afraid to tell people what I think. If I truly believe in something, then I'm going to stand behind it. Making sure that open door policy and that we have transparency in all that we're doing, whether it's making a decision at the dais or putting a ballot in front of the voters. We have to be open and clear on what's changing in Chandler.
You are not only a mother of the three, also serves as a substitute teacher in our local school. Putting grand educational policy aside, let's talk about every parent's biggest fear: exposure to dangers, substance like fentanyl, or safety issue like bullying, having a stone in front of the classroom. How did you plan to leverage city resource to build the protective wall for our children outside the school gates? What kind of Chandler do you want your grandchildren to grow up in?
Great question. First of all, I was a full-time substitute teacher for 2 years. Now I've been doing it part-time for 2 years. I'll be going into my third year, so 5 years in. I love being at the high school. That's specifically where I work, is with the high school. I get to be around these young adults who are getting ready to take on the next level of their life. High school's hard. I think our youth is amazing. Here in Chandler, we have an excellent education system. So I wanted to get involved in that to have the time and the opportunity. I love young adults. I love these teenagers. I love to help form them in any way that I can. The question is, how do we protect them outside of the school? What can the city provide? I think the city does a good job of partnering with the school system to make sure we have after-school programs, that we have new opportunities. One thing I would love to see and partner with is to help them get advancing on their education in more opportunities. We have EVIT in Chandler, which I think is great. What can we do when they're not in school? That I would love to investigate that and see what we can do, protecting them and communicating with the families. I think parenting too is probably the first line of defense of protecting our kids, encouraging parent awareness and being involved with your kids. There's community programs, sports, crafts, different clubs that we could get our kids involved in, making sure that they have access to those other activities so they're not getting bored after school. They're not sitting in front of computers or playing video games all the time. They have actually an opportunity to go out and use their mind and their bodies and be involved in things that are healthy and positive for the family. However, that could work with the city, working that it may be in partnership with the school system. I'd be willing to look at that.
Did you have any suggestion with the parents?
I think as parents, just following your kids' lead, also leading them at the same time, giving them opportunities and focusing on their own growth and making sure it's maybe away from technology a little bit sometimes.
So make sure they go to the right path.
Letting them live life, but living it along with them and being involved with them. I think knowing that they're loved and they're cared for. The Chandler Unified School District was amazing. I love every teacher we've ever had, the experiences we had, the communities that they were involved in terms of sports and other activities that they had at school. I think if we could find a way to have the parents have a better relationship with more communication with what's happening with their kids in school. It is a partnership. I see the kids that are at school, some are really thriving and some are not. You can really see the difference. I also see teachers who very much care. They care about what's happening outside of the classroom for the students. Sometimes I don't know if that gets related the way it should be.
Many people feel that political candidates are just aliens who access at the talking point. You are a mother, a small business owner, neighbors. During this campaign, has there been a specific conversation with a resident or moment on the trail that deeply moved you, perhaps even brought you to tears when you got home late at night? What was that story?
I do think I have a unique perspective coming in running for this office. I do have an entrepreneurial background as a business owner. I'm also a mom. I've worked in the school district, so I can see both sides of what makes Chandler special. I think I can be a support for that and bring a good perspective for that. Being out in the community, knocking doors, I love that, to be able to talk to my neighbors. all throughout Chandler. You asked about one specific situation. There was a situation, one of my blessings when I'm working at the high school, as I do work with a lot of special education department kids. I love them so much. To me, they're amazing. Our school district has done such a great job of giving them an education and taking care of them and helping them to find their own place in the world. I think that's very unique and special in Chandler Unified School District. I was at a door and talking to a parent whose son is with special needs. She had a concern that he wasn't allowed to go to the library anymore because he had autism and sometimes be very verbal and very loud. The library asked that he not come anymore. That was not something I could fix in the moment as a candidate. Because we have such a great council right now, I was able, and they're open to us, we can talk to them and have relationships with them. I was able to connect them to a city council member who was able to kind of step in and find out some solutions. Maybe we allow him to have his own, use one of the rooms at the library so he can still experience a library. Maybe we even have, they may do this already, I'm not sure, an opportunity for a special needs hour or time during the day where we have these kids are able to come into the library and experience that without being, as others may deem, disruptive. I think we need to give them that opportunity to be there. So I was so touched by this mom who was so upset and so concerned that her child was missing an opportunity, knowing that I could contact a sitting council member and say, I can't fix this today, but maybe you can. I hope to be that same sitting council member, that when somebody has a need or they discover it out in the community, that they'll be able to reach out to me. I'll be able to step in and help out.
What's the purpose you're going to run the city council?
The purpose? I have 3 tenets that I'm focusing on. I think it's super important that we have a thriving economy. By having a strong economy and continuing to grow our businesses and helping support them when they bring in the higher paying jobs, that allows our city to, people who still want to move here. They still want to live here. I want our city to be a place where they can live and grow and raise their families. Having that there, the other important piece is that we have a city that's protected, that it's safe, that people feel comfortable in. I want to be able to continue supporting our police and fire. I sat on the police use of force board. It's a review board from the citizens. So it's the Citizens Review of Police Use of Force. It's a long title. I sat on that for 9 years. I fell in love with our police department. I fell in love with the efforts in their heart and how hard they work, how much restraint they use, and how hard they work to protect us. I want to be able to provide them the tools they need because ultimately they're taking care of us and giving us a great community. Supporting our police and fire, and of course transparency, making sure that our citizens are comfortable with the decisions that are being made that affect their lives. Your local council is the most important political level in your entire life. It impacts you as a citizen more directly than anything happening on a federal level. I want citizens to feel that Chandler is approachable and accessible to them, and that we're making decisions that they're happy with and that they're aware that they're happening. I don't want people to be surprised about any policy or any decision that's made at the council level.
The political landscaping is shifting. Our design for safety and a peaceful livelihood never changed. At this critical crossroad, every vote will shape the future of Chandler. Lisa Askey offers voters a choice built on the traditional value and common sense. To learn more about her platform, please visit her official website at lisaaskey.com. Be sure to subscribe to the Southern Picture channel for first-hand, exclusive coverage on local conservative candidate and the latest election update. Let us stand together and make the right choice for Chandler.